Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast on a Monday night. That must mean it's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing fine. Just dandy. So we were talking before the stream. Your AC's out, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
are not doing fine as I speak for you.
yeah.
Then
It's been rough last couple of days, as usual. As I'm pretty sure I've lamented on this stream in the past. My apartment complex is a terrible place. For one reason or another, I have found myself living here. This is my third year at this location. Um, but it will be my last year at this location. I don't care if it makes me go bankrupt. I will not be staying here again. I mean, the reason I stayed here for a third year is because the cost of moving and finding a new place and all that kind of stuff, at the time I was going to try to continue to live alone, was more expensive than the rent increase. And at that time, everything that was wrong with the apartment had been fixed. And so I was like, well, if we're really just talking dollars and cents here, it's cheaper to stay one more year. And all of the things have been broken, but then that quickly fell apart when at the beginning of my lease, my upstairs neighbor's toilet pipe burst and it was leaking toilet water into my bathroom. And then about a month ago, my upstairs neighbor's water heater exploded. And so it flooded my apartment. And now my air conditioning broke. And my apartment complex is, I think that their greatest gift to society is a complete lack of ability to fix problems. The first year I was here, in the
that's a
span of
gift.
yeah, that's their superpower. The
Okay.
first year I was here, my bedroom was invaded by yellow jackets. My upstairs neighbor's air conditioning furnace unit, the I don't know, the condenser or something froze over, and so it was leaking water into my kitchen, and his bathtub had a leak, and so it was leaking water into my bathroom, and this all happened in the span of 3 weeks, and it took him the better part of a year to fix all of that, and I would have moved out after the end of that first year because things were still affordable. Inflation hadn't completely exploded at that point. But I got my identity stolen and had
Yeah.
to completely lock down my credit. And it's hard to rent a place when your credit is completely locked down. You can go in and make special exceptions while you're hunting for stuff, but it actually looks really bad if you do these temporary unfreezings on your credit. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to stay here because anyway. So, yeah, it's been the worst place I've ever lived in my life. Um,
Wow, it's pretty high.
and I've lived in some pretty terrible places. Yeah, anybody who's watching it, who's a Georgia, Atlanta area native, and you're looking to move, do not ever rent at the Falls at Soap Creek in Marietta. This is a public announcement. You will regret it for as long as you were there. So,
Oh, well, hopefully, I know that you're you're on the lookout for a new place. So hopefully you'll be able to be settled in by this time next year.
yeah, me and a
Um,
few friends are going to move in together to cut down costs a little bit on living. It's not affordable anymore to live alone, honestly.
yeah.
And
Oh,
this everything has gotten so bad. You can't live alone anymore. So
yeah. Ah, well, sorry to hear that. Hopefully, just stay hydrated as best you can, and
well, we've been
hopefully you can
lucky.
navigate this for.
Yeah, well, hopefully the air conditioning will fix relatively soon. I mean, Penny and I are familiar to the heat. Last summer or two, we were up in Seattle. It was like the hottest summers on record up there. There was the last summer I was up there, it hit 120 degrees or something insane like that one day. Maybe not 120. It was like
Wow.
110. Um, and that was a rough one, and no one had air conditioning up there, so we've been through hotter temperatures than this, much lower humidity, but we've been through hotter temperatures. But yeah, I remember there was one day there were all the wildfires from East Washington and Oregon and Canada. Like the entire region around Seattle was on fire because of this summer, because it was such a hot summer. And it was projected to be the hottest day in the history of the Pacific Northwest, but we didn't break the record because there was so much smoke in the air, it actually blotted out the sun and kept things a little bit cooler.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
One of the weirdest things. You could look directly up at the sun and we're fine. The smoke was so dense. It was one of the eeriest things I've ever experienced in my life.
Wow.
It was like living in the crater of a volcano. I mean, it was unreal.
Wow. That's crazy. It's like you were living in eternal darkness in a sense.
In a weird way, yeah. Like it was eternal darkness and Cthulhu was calling. But anyway, so what are we looking at tonight, James? Oh, hold on. I didn't set the screen share up. 1 second. Okay, you're good now.
All right. I am here. I will be working on. It'll be a pretty simple scene tonight. We probably won't be on. I don't know. I could probably get this done pretty quickly, I think. But I'm looking on share screen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this scene here, an intense close-up of the Warhawk coming towards Leon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be working on this tonight.
Okay.
But the good news, and again, as I've been working on this, I've been building assets, as we go. So a lot of the pose or a lot of the basic parts are here. I could probably kind of borrow some stuff off of this pose of the Warhog that I have and build that shot. So that's my plan tonight.
Cool.
And we'll see how it goes. So yeah, that is the plan. I feel bad. I don't want to gloss over your heat.
No, it is what it is. I mean, I can't control it, So all I can do is try to stay cool, keep Penny comfortable, and that's about it, So nothing to be done about it right now, at least.
Yeah. How is Penny doing, by the way?
She's fine.
Okay,
yeah, she's a trooper. Like I said, we've been through hotter. This isn't the worst it's ever been. And we've been lucky. It's been raining in the evening the last couple of days, which has helped cool it off a little bit. So it's not unbearable to sleep. So, it's, again, I mean, I hate it, but sometimes the only thing you can do in life is look at silver linings, right? So it can always be worse, and in this instance, it could have been worse, and so we've been getting a little bit of rain, and that's been helping. So, but yeah, she's doing okay. But anyway.
Well, on a lighter note, I'm not sure. I was meaning to ask you. I know you play. I don't know if you even have Apple TV.
I don't right now. I don't have it right now. I'm waiting for the After Party season 2 to have all of its episodes out, and then I know Ted Lasso season 3 wasn't great, but I kind of feel like I want to finish off the series.
Okay.
And I want to watch Tetris, which some people really love and some people don't love, but I'm curious about it just because I know the story and I want to see how they interpret it. So I'm like queuing it up, then I'm going to like buy it for a month, binge everything, and then immediately cancel it. Yep. Right?
That's the way to do it. I mean, I think that is the right way to do it with streaming services these days. It's just wait till stuff is done. I mean, do you really need, unless you have a very active water cooler at work and people especially talk about spoilers, there's no need for you to have to want to watch one episode, per week, like some of these streaming services are doing now. It's funny because Netflix started out this whole thing with doing binge watching, right?
Invented it.
Pretty much, yeah. So you just watch everything in one shot. But then, as streaming services have now gotten older, now you are still forced to wait 1 week for something to come out. I don't know if like with Disney Plus or Apple TV, they do the same thing. So now it's like hit or miss if you can binge something or not. It's just kind of luck of the draw, because like with shows, talking the general landscape.
I think if I had to guess, I'd say streaming services found out that if you piecemeal it, you keep people on the hook
Mm-hmm.
longer,
Yep.
right? I
Yep.
mean, like
That's exactly it.
right. I mean, like the After Party, what it aired for 2 or 3 months before all the episodes are going to come out. Well, if you
Yeah.
keep people wanting to watch on a per weekly basis, then guess what? Like then instead of 1 month, you get 3 month subscription, right? But I don't know that that's really a long term solution, given that people like me figured out pretty quick. Oh, I just wait for the whole season. There's no need for me to watch it on a weekly basis. I'll just wait for the whole season to air, and then I'll just buy it for 1 month and then watch everything. And I'm sure that the bean counters at these streaming services are aware of it too, because it's pretty obvious, and they are in the
Mm-hmm.
they are in they've probably got some economists and social psychologists that are trying to find new ways to force us to spend more money. We shall see how that goes, but I mean, it may not even matter if this writers and actors strike doesn't get resolved in the near future. I mean, who knows? But,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, really, the only thing that's going to happen with a writer strike is just. I feel like they have the leverage right now versus the execs, because one side knows how to make stuff, the other side doesn't.
well,
So,
in the short term, the studios have all the power because they've got a backlog of
yeah,
like 2 years of content that they can
yeah,
still,
that's true.
right?
Yeah,
So they're sitting pretty right
that's
now.
true.
And in fact, I read a headline, admittedly. I didn't read the whole article, but the headline said that either it was Netflix or Max actually had their most profitable like month or two since the strike started because they're not paying for new creation. They're just taking money
Mm,
on the subscription. So it's all money in and no money out.
yeah.
So I think right now in the short term, the studios and the producers and the executives, they're in a position of power. That obviously won't last forever because they will eventually run out of content. But the question is can the actors and the writers hold out long enough, right? And and
Well, here's the.
the other thing too is that they don't have to make scripted stuff. I mean, the last time the writers went on such a significant strike, they sort of were responsible for the creation of reality TV, right? Which is a plague on mankind that we've never been able to find a vaccine for.
So I heard a counter argument to the whole reality TV thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I can't remember the name. Who's the actor that the comedian guy that does Adam Rules Everything? I don't know. I can't remember his
Oh,
name. He's Adam something, right?
Yeah, Adam Cornover or
Yeah.
Conover, Adam Conover.
So he had a. I should send a link to it later. He had a discussion with the guy that runs Pod Saves America, their podcast. He was on there, and I
Sure.
guess he's one of the WGA actor negotiator type guys. He's like one of the leaders of the reps. So
Mm-hmm.
he was on there talking about this, and they brought that up actually as a question. But he was pretty much saying that reality TV already started pretty much. I mean, the blueprint was already started out with Survivor and some of
Mm-hmm.
these other shows that were like early 2000s. They did hit. They were already kind of rolling by the time the strike happened in 2007.
Yeah, I think it was
Which
2007.
I remember watching. Yeah, so I do remember watching Survivor season 2 and 3 and 4 before the strike. For example, American Idol I think has been on for a while, right?
Right.
So I don't know. That was his counter to that. It's like, yeah, the reality TV will still be around, but it never was because the strike didn't really make it more popular. It was already on its way anyway. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, there's no way to know because we
Honestly,
can't go
yeah.
back in time and change history. I agree. Reality TV did exist in a nascent form pre-strike, but I think
Yeah.
what the strike did, and this is not a commentary on whether or not the strike was valuable or not. That's not
Yeah.
what I'm bringing up here. But I do think that at the very least it escalated the spread of it and like hypercharged the spread and popularity of it, right?
Because there's nothing else on.
Yeah, if you want to get really dark with it, I think that there is a possibility in one of the many instances of the multiverse that exist, that had that strike not occurred, Donald Trump would have never gotten The Apprentice, would never have become a world-renowned celebrity, would have never become the voice, right? in a certain version of the multiverse, you can blame that 2007 writer's strike on the presidency of Donald Trump, if you want to go down the road. I'm being extremely flippant right now. I'm not being serious.
Yeah, I know.
But still, it's a funny thought exercise.
When did Apprentice start? Wasn't it early 2000s as well?
I can find out real quick.
Yeah,
Hold
might as well. We have the magic of the internet, but I'm very curious. I think the damage is already done. Is I guess what I'm saying. I think he's already
2005. Yeah, it was. The Apprentice started in 2005, so he was there already. So that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, the thing is when the strike happens and nothing else is on TV, your eyeballs will go to whatever's on is new, and So yeah, I guess even though you're being kind of silly about it.
Yeah, I am being silly.
It is a dark spin. So here's the other thing though. So just now we're fast forwarding to today. So even I read a blurb today that even the sequel to Spider-Man, right, the multiverse Spider-Verse one, is supposed to be due out next year. Well, now that's been shelved.
Right.
Because voice actors are part of the guild.
Right.
So now they don't have a release date now. So they had a rolling cadence ready to go. People are hungry for it, obviously. Now they're out. So yeah, in the short term, studios have a lot of power, but you're already changing next year's slate of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of if I'm an executive, I'd be like, well, I want to keep the churn going. I want to keep stuff going because you need to work on stuff. If you're just sitting around and there's just a bunch of executives that are around a giant table talking about numbers all day, well, what's that going to get you in 6 months? You're going to be way behind. I don't know. We'll
see. I mean, I think I admit I have no stake in this one way or the other.
Sure.
We have talked about this at length on this podcast, but Nintendo is right. Like, the reason they don't care about Sony or Nintendo, or Sony and Microsoft all that much, is because they don't really see them as the true competitors anymore. They see streaming services, they see YouTube, they see Instagram, they see any form of entertainment possible as their competitor, right? And they're, as they often are, they're right. Like, I can turn off a game at any point and go watch a movie or watch a TV show because I have all of this content at my fingertips at all times, right? So me personally, I'm not worried about it. I mean, if a new TV show, I'm going through Schitt's Creek again right now, which is a show that ended in 2020, I think. Right?
I think it's in 2020, something like that.
So I'm going through that old show again. Before that, I went through New Girl. I'll probably go through 30 Rock. Yeah. I like rewatching my old show. So while I am looking forward to watching season 2 of The After Party, if season 2 of The After Party didn't exist, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, what am I going to do with my free time? There is so much content. And a lot of it's stuff that I saw. I've been meaning. I've had Justified. They just did that new Justified thing. I still haven't seen the original show, right? Well, that's on Hulu.
Is it worth seeing? Is a question I ask. I guess.
I don't know, but I do know that the original show is beloved. People love the original.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Whether the new one is good or not, I haven't seen it, so I can't weigh in.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? I have a backlog of content that is readily available on streaming platforms. It would take me years to finally actually catch up and go, man, I am really hungry, for some new TV content, right?
Yeah.
So, at least in the short term, I really think that the actors and the writers they're the ones who are behind the 8 ball right now, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're the ones who aren't working. They're the ones who aren't making money. And
and they have rent to pay. They have a bunch of people that are lower on the total pool. Like, sure, Tom Cruise can survive for a whole how many years he wants.
Yeah, Tom Cruise never has to work again if he doesn't want to. So, yeah. Right, and that's the thing. It's not.
Gaffers and
Yeah, their union isn't striking though, but they don't have work because writers and actors are striking,
Yeah.
right? So there's
Mhm.
all of this
Yeah.
collateral damage, and I listen to this really interesting podcast because it's valuable to see multiple sides of the story to get other
Mhm.
people's perspectives, and sometimes it's easier to hear other people's point of view than other times. But in this one, I thought it was super valuable that this this manager, this like very very famous successful manager, was talking, and he wasn't pro executive, he wasn't pro actor, and in
Yeah.
fact, I mean, I think ultimately he thought that in a sort of idealistic perfect world, the the actors and the writers are in the right, and I think based on the little that I've researched it, yeah, they are being underpaid, they are being taken advantage of in a lot of ways. I think some of their demands are a little bit much, like the insistence on a minimum size writer room feels
Mhm.
a little ridiculous to me. But again, I'm not an expert, so it's hard for me to really weigh in on that. But anyway, um, the he was talking about how what may end up happening here, and he's not guaranteeing that it's happened, but it is a possibility that this actually ends up breaking the back of the unions. So
Mhm.
the
Yeah. It could.
individuals, they're going to start getting hungry for work, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
out of a need to work, it's just like, well, I guess I can go back to my server job at Gordon Biersch, right? Or
Mhm. Mhm.
I could just quit the union and take scab jobs, doing what I want to do, right? Knowing that if I do this, it bans me from the union, but hey, at least I'm doing the work that I've trained for. I'm not going back into the server job, right? I lose health insurance, and the various perks and a potential pension, that kind of stuff, but at least I'm working, right?
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
get enough hungry writers and actors who start doing that kind of math, then they're going to be able to start making content again with or without the union support, right? And
Yeah.
then it could end up breaking the back of the union. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. I mean, the few people I know who are in SAG, who are in the WGA, like if you can get work, it's very very valuable to be in the guilds, right? It's not,
Sure. Mhm.
it's not like a corrupt public sector union or a corrupt teachers union where all of the money goes to the administrative staff and none to the actual people who do the work, right? Um,
Mhm.
anyway, so I mean, it's not it's so complicated, right? Like I think again, taken in a vacuum, I think from a just a what is right and justified standpoint, obviously I'm going to come down on the side of the writers and the actors, right? But
Yeah.
you have to. It's so complicated because there are always unintended consequences with any choice that you make, no matter how benign and or how major. And I am curious as to what the unintended consequences of this strike is going to be. And by all accounts, there is no ending in sight for this, right? Um,
It doesn't seem like it.
yeah,
Yeah, and again, I'm I'm pro writer as well.
yeah,
Obviously, I mean,
absolutely,
we're kind of we want. I mean, I do want to root. I root for them. But yeah, I mean, those are all valid points. So you just yeah, you don't know what the consequence. Like, how can they really hold out? For example,
right,
like I mean, again, I'm reading blurbs. I'm not spending a lot of time reading that
right,
stuff, just curious stuff here and there. But like for example, like Leonardo DiCaprio and some of the bigger actors are now taking their salary and they're pulling it into the union to help pay for the little guys that need to pay their mortgages or their
yeah,
rent or
yeah,
whatever. So how long is that going to go? Like, can they do that for a year, two
right.
years, 3 years? Like,
Right. It's
and you said,
awesome
and you
that they're
said like
doing
in the
that, but it's
SAG,
not a long-term solution, right? I mean,
yeah.
right now, Drew Carey, there's a diner. I think it might be Patty's actually down on Riverside. Was Patty's on Riverside or in Burbank? I don't remember.
Oh,
It's
Patty's?
yeah. It's been so long.
Yeah,
Is it on Magnolia? I
it's
don't
been a
even
while
remember
for me
anymore.
too.
Yeah. Anyway, um, um, it's um, Drew Carey. Sorry, Drew Carey has actually. If you show your SAG-AFTRA card or your WGA card at this diner, I don't remember if it's Patty's or Bob's Big Boy or whatever. They send the bill to Drew Carey, and he's been paying for people's lunches for almost since the strike began,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love seeing that, but like you said, what is the long term? They can't do that forever, right? And so,
Eventually, yeah, you can't. But now let's go to the other side. For
yeah,
example, yeah, so Drew Carey, he's doing Price is Right, or Stephen Colbert, he's doing his late night show, on
are they? I
PBS.
actually
Well,
don't
there's
know.
some.
Are those still on, or did those go on
Oh no, no,
hiatus?
no, no. I'm speaking
Oh,
like in a general
oh,
term. Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm not being. I'm just trying to speak like as if like, now that they're shut down, how does a network sell ads? Like, what are they going to do in that time slot without
Right,
having a
right.
draw of that talent there? So, yeah, I mean, I know we're going back and forth a lot, but like we're talking
No,
about reality TV.
I
Yeah,
think
they
it's
can do that, but
valuable, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
but how do you sell ads? Like that's how you make your money, right? Like
yeah.
how and if you don't have quality stuff to like we have our YouTube show, we have our YouTube podcast. We're not Stephen Colbert by any stretch
No,
of the
by interest.
imagination.
Although we have 3 concurrent viewers right now,
Okay. Well, that's right.
so
I mean, because maybe I have myself, yeah, but cool. Like to our threes to tens of viewers, we're not Stephen Colbert. We're
no,
not Stephen Colbert or Jon Stewart.
no.
So, and we don't do it. Like so. How do those big studios that want to make quality content make money if they can't sell ads? It's like a weird snake eating its own tail thing, a little bit.
But
I find
it's so.
interesting.
Well, the thing is like I don't even know how big a piece of the pie broadcast and cable ad-supported television is anymore, right? At least
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, we'll reiterate this over and over again. I haven't done a huge amount of research into it because I just, frankly, my life is my life, and I have enough problems without taking on the problems of 2 guilds that I'm not a member of. But
Yeah,
what I have seen of it, it's everything. Every time I hear people talking about it, it's talking about Netflix, right? And then
okay.
HBO or Max or whatever it's called now, and it's always streaming services that are brought up. And I at least from what comes across my path, I rarely hear about broadcast or cable anymore. It's all the streaming services that are really a major point of contention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know, like, and that again, not an expert, so this could be irrelevant. But how are channels like Fox and CBS and ABC and local affiliates who do still rely on ad revenue? Where are they in all of this, right? Because their broadcast shows aren't getting produced anymore, and so they will almost certainly hurt long before the streaming services hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it's this sort of like, part of me feels like, which domino is going to fall first?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bit of a waiting game right now. It feels like.
I mean, I know. I felt. I mean, with Netflix, for example, it's like it's the flavor of the decade or the sexy thing to talk about because it's streaming and it's new.
Yeah.
But nothing will ever replace. I don't think anything will ever replace free, quote unquote, free broadcast TV over air because a lot of us are still socio and economically impacted to where we can't afford to have cable every day or have a streaming service except for on occasion have it for like a month or something like that. The one that's still the skeletal system for entertainment consumption to me. And again, I don't have any evidence for this. I'm just trying to, I'm just kind of guessing. It would be over the air, free TV that you can just watch and you don't need an internet connection. I mean, I think there's still a lot of people that still will access that. I mean, I think you and I we're kind of we're lucky to have internet, and we use that as our main, probably as our main. That's where we consume our media the most. But I think there's plenty of households in the U.S. that still do over-the-air cable and, over-the-air TV and kind of go that route. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there's still a viable option for it. It's not sexy to talk about because it's
No, it's definitely
so
not.
old.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is the old way of doing things. It's a good point. I mean, I fully admit I live in a bubble. I mean, I haven't had cable or watched ad-supported television since 2012. So, I mean, over a decade, right? I think 2012 was the last time I had cable. And we're down to one. See, this is what happens when you say you have 3 concurrent viewers. Then it's like, oh God, they're calling me out. Then they disappear.
No worries.
But yeah, I mean, my parents, they still watch live television. They don't need to. I mean, they have broadband, and they do,
But they have
use
it.
streaming
But they have it
services.
in the background.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
partially because they're old and they love watching the weather. What is it with older people and loving to watch the weather? Right? Like, it's so weird. I was the last time I was up there, my father was waiting a half hour for the weather report came out. I was like, well, I'll tell you what the weather is. And I just picked up my phone. And I'm like, here's the weather right now. Problem solved. But it's I don't know. It's a weird sort of ritual thing for them.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I don't know. There's so many variables. There's so many moving parts. I mean, it really is. It's just too much for me to fully process. And the interesting thing is I get the sense that the writers and the actors know this, which is why they spend so much time on social media trying to sell their cause as a righteous one. I mean, you can't throw a rock without hearing another, social media post from Adam Conover, who we mentioned before, or Bob Odenkirk, or any other myriad writers / actors who are household names trying to convince average Joe public that their plight is righteous. And I got to be honest, like, I hear them, right, and I support them in principle, but am I going to go out of my way to, like, stop using streaming services to send a message? Well, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Partially because
Yeah.
so many of the arguments that I've been hearing is like, oh, my residuals are so low. It's like, well, did you get paid? Like, you got paid to do the job, and you get these residuals on top of it. Well, congratulations, you work in an extremely rarefied environment, because 99.9% of all jobs are work for hire. You don't get residuals, even if it is just 15 cents a month, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is extremely rare to get residuals. So that doesn't move the needle for me, because I don't have that experience, right? They have a business experience that is not my own, and I'm like, well, it's hard to feel sympathy for you because I've never had residuals, right? So I don't.
Yeah.
You got paid to do the work, right? Well, welcome to the world that 90% of the world lives in, So it's hard to build sympathy because, quite frankly, they do work in an extremely elite, extremely wealthy industry that most people will never, ever be a part of, right?
Yeah.
So, it is. I think from that perspective, too, while I think that if you show the dollars and cents to a normal person, they would just, in a vacuum, go, yes, absolutely. The writers and the actors are in the right here. But they're not going to look at it in a vacuum. They're going to look at the highest paid writers are striking when they're getting a $250,000 a year salary, and they're complaining about not getting residuals on their work. And it's just like, I have zero sympathy for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's an extreme example, but there are writers out there who are trying to convince us to support them, but they make more money than I make in 5 years, in 1 year, right? And it's just like, okay, yeah, I get it. There is more money that the executives are kind of hoarding, and you're getting the raw end of the deal, holistically speaking within the context of the industry, but in terms of appealing to the average person who will never make that amount of money in their lives, it's a lot harder.
It's abstract.
It is way too abstract for most people. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I feel for them because I recognize within that bubble they are in the right, but taken to the broader holistic sense of just consumers and all of that jazz, they have an uphill battle, right? It's not that the average person is on the side of the executives, but they're not on the side of the executives. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have any skin in the game. They don't make this kind of money, so they don't really feel any sympathy in that regard. They've got plenty of content for God knows how much longer. right? They're not thinking about running out of content 2 years from now because they've got it right now, right? And so that's why I come back to, I really do think that the writers and the actors have an incredible uphill battle ahead of them, regardless of whether or not broadcast television, like you said, I mean, I think that's a really valid point, how hard hit broadcast television is by the strike.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Again, I mean, only let's see. I mean, because that's an immediate. That's like I know. I mean, we used. I mean, I've used two examples: Spider-Man being 1 year out,
Yeah.
and it's already on the shelf, and then Stephen Colbert. People that are used to watching late night television to watch stuff, and now they're not tuning in.
Yep.
So there is an immediate need that because a studio will make CSI, for example, and wants to sell it to CBS. Well, now CBS doesn't make money off of Colbert and their ad dollars to spend money to buy CSI from whichever studio, like Sony, whoever's making it. So it's a circle that's already starting now. Like it's not like executives can't just sit by either, because the content they have in the can or the content they want to sell, they can't now, because stuff that turns ad revenue is already drying up already. Like, as soon as the strike happened.
Yeah,
but on the flip side, yeah.
Well, that's the
On
other
flip
question
side,
though I have.
yeah.
Like, they still have the broadcast rights to this stuff, and my mother has rewatched Law and Order a million times over again, right? And that's the thing about these procedurals.
Yeah.
Every episode is exactly the same, so who cares, right? Like, whether you're watching an episode from 10 years ago or watching a new episode, it's exactly the same episode. It's almost indistinguishable from one episode to the next. And so, like, in that extreme case, like, my mom's not going to give a shit, Like, she doesn't care. And I'm not saying that my mom is representative. She's not like a 4-quadrant audience person, but there is also that they still do have the broadcast rights, and they can still put on reruns, So it's not like the content just disappears. Maybe the ad spend isn't as high with the reruns, but it is still there.
Yeah, but you can't you can only do a rerun of Jimmy Fallon for so long.
Sure.
For example. And I'm using my parents as an example, because they'll watch Jimmy Fallon every night. But now those eyeballs are gone, because we've seen this one. This is from like 2 months ago. This is Jimmy Fallon when he was interviewing whoever, which Tom Cruise from 3 weeks ago. It's like, well, they've already seen it. They don't want to watch it. Yeah,
that's true.
And also, the demographic we're talking about is our parents, the boomer generation.
Yeah.
Which they aren't out there. Some of them are still working, but a lot of them aren't spending money like they used to. So the demographic they really want to grab is us and younger.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing.
Well, that's the thing, though. Us and younger, they don't watch late night TV anymore. They don't watch Colbert. They don't watch Fallon. They don't watch. I mean, that's the reason why Conan took his show off the air, right? His audience skews much younger than most of these shows, and they're not watching late night TV anymore. I mean, I know I haven't. I can't tell you the last time I sat down and watched any late night talk show. I mean, a decade or more probably, right?
My wife and I, we still watch the Daily Show on occasion, but we stream it. We never watch it live.
Exactly.
But we do watch it. For example, right? But it has to be new. It can't be a rerun. We're not going to watch it.
Right, but you're also
3 months.
You're also streaming it though, so there is no ad spend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, honestly, and again, I live in a bubble, so I don't know for sure, but the sense that I get, really, and there are obviously extremes, but I don't know anybody under the age of 55 who still watches live television.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
Whether you have cable or not, if you have cable, you're using a DVR, and you're just fast forwarding through the commercials, right? So ad spend has been, and this is not just TV, this is newspapers, this is internet, this is everything. The traditional ad space is cratering because less and less people are influenced or motivated by ads anymore, right? And so I wonder if broadcast TV really is going to play into this very much. I mean, I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, I think the reason we don't really hear about broadcast TV anymore is because the only people who watch broadcast TV are old, and they don't really care about new content.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they do in as much as they'd like to see a new episode of Law and Order versus an old episode of Law and Order, but if there isn't a new one, whatever, they're all the same anyway.
Here's the other thing, though, that we're not talking about. And again, I think you and I both, I'm in a bubble too. But most streaming platforms have ad-supported versions of their stuff.
They do.
And I wonder how many subscribers are on that where they are making money. And maybe that's the way they are. Maybe that is their bread and butter. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Netflix just recently introduced an ad-supported version. Hulu has always had an ad-supported version. Mm-hmm. I think most streaming platforms are doing like the cheaper ad-supported model, right? Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what the revs, what the rev split on that is, right? How many people? Because when I was still, I just steal passwords from everybody now. We all share passwords around. And but when I was actually paying for streaming services myself, I always paid the extra money to not have commercials, right?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because we have we have enough money to do that, but there might be people.
Sure.
I'm not in that position. But they want to have Hulu, and they're willing to just save an extra $2 to do whatever.
Right. If there weren't a market for it, they wouldn't provide these plans. Pure and simple.
They wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't. Yeah, and that's why they exist. And then meanwhile, Netflix. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but Netflix gave me a message on my television saying, "Hey, by the way, if you're using Netflix outside of your household, here's your chance to sign up for $7.99 per month to do this." And like, what? What are you talking about? So what they're telling me is when I go visit my parents, I want to watch Netflix on their television, and it's my account because I installed it on there so I can watch it. Now I can't do that anymore.
Nope.
And that makes me second guess if I want to have Netflix.
Yeah.
The reason why we have it now is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. When they did that, I was like, cool. I just won't watch Netflix. I mean, it was the streaming service I used the least anyway, quite frankly. When they decided
I want to do that, but
yeah. When they cracked down on passwords, I'm like, okay, fine. I don't care. I really don't need to rewatch Seinfeld anyway. I mean, that was the only thing I was using it for. Because honestly, like so much, I mean, and maybe my job didn't involve so much of this, and I have a work account and that kind of stuff, and so I get screeners of Witcher season 3 of The Witcher, which was not great, by the way.
I heard it was bad. I heard it was bad.
It was not as bad as some of the critics are saying, but it was not great.
Good.
Anyway, so I can still watch all the Netflix shows I want to watch, but again, I'm fortunate in that my job affords me that opportunity. But maybe it would be different if I didn't have that job, but it wouldn't be one of those. It wouldn't be a streaming service that I just left on a monthly drip. I would do what I do with Apple TV, where I wait till there's a bunch of stuff I want to watch, binge it all as fast as I can, and then cancel the subscription as fast as possible. So,
that's how I would do it these days too.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting landscape, and I don't know. I don't know if it's. I think both sides are saying they have leverage. I get that. I just don't see. I think they both have an argument for who actually has all the marbles and who's the one that's sweating bullets. I think ultimately I do. I mean, I think ultimately artists have the upper hand in the in the long run. But like you said, in the short term, they could sit on their content they have made. But people are going to be wondering. People were expecting to see Spider-Man next year. I was.
Yeah. For sure.
Can I wait? Am I going to wait now 2 years now or something?
I have no
because
idea.
They can't. Supposedly they haven't even started animation on it, so it's going to be 2 years now. I think they had all their ducks in a row, but now, artists have gone to the 4 winds because whether they're contractors or they're part of the guild or whatever, they all got to go and make money and do other stuff. So to get that team together to do that again, Sony Pictures, for example, but you see the credits roll and you see how much outsourcing, how many different countries are involved making that movie. Those other places, they're not part of the guild. They're not part of
Right.
the union, and they're gonna sign up for whatever comes up next,
Right.
and then they get booked.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. Yeah, regardless of how it plays out, I do think, and I mean, I'm not a smart enough person to be kind of predict what it's going to be, but I think that there is going to be some huge ramifications for the entertainment industry, like irrevocable, maybe for the better, maybe for the worst. I'm not willing to put down bets on it. Regardless if it's a better change or a worse change, I think that the industry is going to look fundamentally different when the dust settles on all this. And I don't know that we're going to see it immediately, but 10 years after this strike ends, I think we're going to be looking back and going, man, who would have thought that this happened as a result of that strike? And every time, right? In the 60s, the last time the writers and the actors all struck together, it changed the very face of how movies and television were made. The 2008 strike, though significantly shorter than the one in the 60s, had huge impacts on the kind of television that was being made, right? And some of the decisions that streaming services were making at the time. And there's no question, given how massive this strike is, that there are going to be unforeseen consequences that aren't going to come to complete fruition for easily a decade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's Yeah. I just hope your weird dark prediction of well, not prediction, but
the darkest timeline where the 2008 writers' strike.
Getting Donald Trump again, another version of him, is what I'm afraid of more than anything at this point. After what you just said.
I mean, in all fairness, I was being
concern.
flippant. I don't actually think it was a dumb thought exercise, but
yeah.
Regardless, so yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a smart enough person to even venture a guess on what the ramifications are going to be, but I do think they're going to be significant, and I think they're going to be long term, and I don't even think they're going to fully come to fruition for years. Yeah. But we're going to look back in 10 years and go, holy crap. You know.
I hope it's for the better, but I don't know.
Sometimes it is.
We'll see.
Sometimes it is. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff that came out of the 2008 writer's strike. The writers got, they got some important stuff out of it, and the industry has changed once again. The one thing that I find a little silly is their obsession with AI. I mean, it's
really weird.
Don't know why they're putting so many eggs in that basket. Maybe they know something I don't know, but everything that I have seen of AI is at least 20 years away from actually being able to replace a human writer, if ever. And realistically, I think the real value of AI, if the writers could leverage it properly, is the AI writes the crappy treatment or the crappy first draft, and then they come in and do the actual work, right? I don't know.
And that's why writers will never be out of a job, I don't think, because what's an AI going to do when you need to do rewrites? You know how many times you and I, like us, non-union, we're just hanging out doing this cartoon. How many times we've been in the writer's room, you're writing your script and you go, hey, what do you think of this? And like there's one line maybe you want to change, for example, and we talk about it. An AI just can't do that.
Never going to be able to do that, in my opinion. In my opinion. I could be wrong, right? This is my opinion.
I share your opinion, yeah.
I mean, judging from...
on top of that...
Yeah.
One other thing about AI, I never understood this, is AI still needs a human to prompt it to do stuff. It's not AI yet. It's still dumb. It won't do anything on its own. It needs another human to do something. So it's not... It really depends on the human that's running it. Still. Until we get the Terminator or something like that that's actually making decisions to do things on its own, I'm not worried about it that much. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it does.
I was watching
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was just watching. I was watching somebody trying to make try to use AI to make a game. For
Mm-hmm.
example, this is a silly platformer game. The amount of time and effort he said like he spent like 2 days, something like that, just doing prompts, trying to do stuff with it. You could have just learned the software and just done it yourself and made a better game. I mean, that's how I felt about it. Like watching it, I was like,
Right.
really, what is it? Like, I don't see the benefit of an AI at all.
I think
Anyway,
and again, um, I think it's too soon, but I do think that AI will get to a point where it
sure.
puts people out of jobs. It will get to that point, and I think that that's part of their fear. In this article, or not the article, this podcast I listened to, where this guy was kind of playing devil's advocate. He said sort of the dark kind of elephant in the room is that there is a lot of writing jobs out there where the people writing know what they're writing is garbage, know it's beneath their talents, but they need a paycheck. And so they
Hmm.
shovel out this dreck because people consume it, right? The bar is
Hmm.
very, very low. I mean,
Yeah,
it's actually kind of depressing how low the bar is. And
yeah,
it's not Mike White who's worried about being replaced by AI, right? AI is not going to write White Lotus. It's just not going to happen. You know, um, it's the staff writers on Two and a Half Men. They're the ones who are worried, right? It's the writers' room of Big Bang Theory. I mean, these are shows that are dumb, they're meaningless, they're mindless, right? And the writers who write it know how bad the show is. They know how unfunny and awful it is. But they're paid to do it, and people watch it, right? And so they're really
hmm
the ones who are afraid, because from where they're sitting, they honestly don't think that what they're producing is a much higher level quality than what an AI is almost capable of doing right now, right? Or at the very least, it won't be as long, right? And so I think one of the reasons why they've got so many eggs in this basket is because while AI might not be at a point to actually replace a human writer yet, it is closer for the grunt writers than it will be for the prestige writers. And the same thing about actors. I mean, there are already studios who are playing around with buying the likeness rights of extras and then just using CG to fill in the background of a bunch of extras, right?
hmm hmm
And so, I mean, will will AI be important at some point? Yeah, I mean, I think that is something that will play in, and I think people will lose their jobs as that technology matures. Do I think it's ever going to fully replace human beings? No, no, that's not possible. It's just going to
So,
change things, you know.
so I think I don't know anybody that's a concept artist, but I think the one thing that Midjourney has done, it has already done is it has replaced jobs for concept artists because you can do a prompt and then
Yeah,
type in a certain number of phrases and you can get concept arts for a mood board. Because that's an actual artist's job. That's the biggest thing that I've seen
yeah,
getting replaced. And that's already there.
yeah,
Sadly, I don't. I feel bad if I happen to chosen a career path as a concept artist and then this showed up. I would have been really really bummed. And I'm bummed for them. And
yeah,
again, I don't know anybody, but I can, I just can sympathize in that situation.
yeah, yeah.
And AI will get better. Like
Yeah, it
yeah,
will
AI is
get
already
better.
doing
There's no
animation.
doubt about it. Like, technology moves
Mhm.
forward, right?
Yeah,
There's no stopping
yeah,
that. And yeah, I agree. And I think your concept artist example is a perfect example. Um,
yeah.
it's just like technology changed the nature of how manufacturing was done, changed the nature of blue
Yep.
collar jobs in this country. AI is going to change the nature of white collar jobs in this country, and
Yeah.
it is there are going to be a lot of people whose jobs become obsolete. I know for one that my job will be, right? My job is not
Yeah.
far away from being completely doable by AI. it's not quite there yet, and so my job is safe right now. 5 years, 10 years, no, my job will be gone.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah, at the rate it's going.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I have no doubts that my job, as it stands right now, will be completely automated by an AI in 10 years at the most. So,
Yeah.
so I recognize that, and I recognize the value of bringing that up at a topic, but I just, at least to the extent that I've been following it, it seems like they're doubling down on that too much, and there are more pressing things that they need to be focusing on, But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
in the center of it. I'm not in the thick of it. So it's
Yeah,
hard.
so,
It's
yeah,
hard
we're
to.
just
Yeah, we're outsiders
we're
circling it.
just yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, kind of interesting topic. Kind of sad, kind of depressing. Kind of I don't know if we have optimism or what. I think we're right in the middle. It feels
Yeah,
like to me.
I'm not. I'm
Um,
not. I'm not negative about it. I'm not positive about it. I'm kind of
yeah.
like, I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting industry problem. It's an interesting economic problem, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out.
Well, as we wrap, we can pretty much wrap up. At least we can wrap up with a positive note.
Yeah,
At least this scene is pretty much done.
yeah, that looks great. Yeah, I mean,
So,
yeah, it really looks good.
so just to break this down, so even inside, there's even subtle animation I kind of added in. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't intend to do that, but even having the mouth open a little bit as it gets closer to camera,
I love
you know,
that.
I kind of
It's a
added
really, really subtle detail, but it just shows that sort
super
of
subtle.
that building tension, right? His sort of gaping maw
Yeah.
as he closes in on Leon.
And so I might play with the mouth a little bit, as I play the timing a little bit, but it's there. I mean, I can see it, and so I'm happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty happy. So yay, we can at least end on a happy note that at least some work got done on Calamity Jane as an animated
Love
scene.
it, love it. As we continue to be scabs in our own industry.
Yeah. So
Well, that's good.
But cool.
A nice
Yeah, so I think
positive
we're in a good
note.
spot.
We'll have to save conversations because I did see Barbie and I have thoughts, and we can talk about that next week.
oh yeah.
And maybe.
And I saw Ninja Turtles myself.
Oh, you did
so
see it.
we can talk
Oh,
about that
okay.
too.
I still haven't seen either
Yeah,
Ninja Turtles or
yeah.
Oppenheimer. We're living in bizarro world right now, where you're seeing all of these movies that I should have seen already, and I still haven't seen.
I know. I'm doing. Yeah, that's weird. You're
So-
the film buff, not me.
I almost went this weekend, but I was so tired. I went to a wedding, and I actually wasn't hungover or anything. I was actually really careful, but
Huh?
we were partying until super late. I was just exhausted because I'm an old man. And I was
Yeah.
like, do I want to sit in a movie theater to watch a 3-hour-long biopic about Oppenheimer? No, I really don't. I was even at the like press the button to buy tickets screen, and I'm like, I just don't want to. I just don't want to. So I was going to see it this weekend, and I ended up not seeing it. I should have went and gone to see Ninja Turtles, but I didn't. Anyway, this week is a zoo, so I don't even know if I'm going to have time to do it, but maybe I'll see one of the two if possible. But anyway, yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. We're at almost an hour. This is one of our longest streams in a while.
Man, I thought it was gonna be really short too. It's really weird.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, anyway, head on over to calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you to our Patreon site. Please consider joining us on our misadventures to make this cartoon a reality. And if you do, you'll continue. If we start building momentum, honestly, and we start getting some people, we will start doing exclusive content. We'll probably do exclusive streams, special content. I know we have a bunch of like concept art and script samples and things that are already gated behind it. So, hey, join in and be on the ground floor, and let's get enough people so we can make it an elite club. But anyway, hop on and consider supporting us and make this cartoon a reality. And then obviously you're finding us on Facebook or YouTube and all the things. And again, I'm not updating X right now or Twitter or whatever the hell it's called. We're still trying to regrouping and figuring out
our
what's
social
going
media.
on. Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what's going on with there. So right now, calamityjane.rocks I think is going to be your main source for information, or our Facebook page. And that's how you're going to learn about what we're doing. In the meantime, I think everything's normal, ready to go for next week. So we'll see you at the same Calamity time, same Calamity channel, next Monday at the usual time. All right. Well, we're going to call it there, everybody. Stay safe out there and have a good night. Good night, James.